However, at those talks in Geneva, there was no actual concrete progress. We got to know each other, we discussed issues, we gained trust of each other. We knew that we could rely on each other and that we could really work with each other. As Margaret Thatcher said, the West can work with Mr. Gorbachev. It was in the beginning of 1986 in Iceland that Reagan and I met again. It was at those talks that we had the largest breakthrough since the Iron Curtain went up. We both agreed to limit the number of intermediate range nuclear weapons to 100 per country. And we had an agreement to completely rid the world of nuclear weapons by the year 1996. We knew that we could do this together, though we did not create any schedule for it. Hence, it did not happen after the collapse, sadly. But we worked together, and we had this agreement to eliminate the weapons. We knew that we could work internationally like that, and we could try to bring the world further from this nuclear holocaust, that we could get us further from disaster, that we can limit the amount of people dead. Also in 1986, I had a major domestic reform. My policy of acceleration was not working with the Soviet economy. Just accelerating it would not work. It needed to be restructured. I called that policy perestroika. Perestroika was a radical new policy that would completely redo the economic system, completely redo everything. For the Soviet economy, it did not work. You can only do so much with a horse with a broken leg. You cannot heal it. And the Soviet economy was a horse with a broken leg. We needed to shoot it and get another one. And that is exactly what we did with perestroika. We moved on in economic reform. We still had government backing. There were no private businesses at the time. But we were working further towards an economy that could work. However, I was criticized at the same time. The Communist Party believed I was working too slowly, or too quickly, that there should not be this reform, that we should not do this. The old system works. These were the old people of Chernenko and of Brezhnev and the old leaders. You see, they just could not work with a new system. They were children of the revolution. They just could not work. It was therefore that I had to get rid of many of them and bring them in with new thinkers in my cabinet. And at the same time, the radicals all thought that they knew what was best and that we needed private-backed businesses, that we needed to just completely have a capitalist society, that we needed all of these. But I did not want to work that fast. It is a process, and we need to go through a process slowly, not quickly. Quickly will end in ruin. Yet these radicals just want quick progress, and that it is not an option. So at the same time, I was losing support from the radicals, and I was losing support from the Communist Party. So that was not very good for me. You see, and furthermore, this isolation from the Communist Party really took huge effect at the Chernobyl disaster. The Chernobyl disaster happened in March and April of 1986, and the Soviets came on TV, the people under me came on TV, we downplayed the disaster, we did not say that it was bad. I would not have supported this, and you'd think that being leader of the country, I would be the one making this decision. But the people working under me, the bureaucracy of the Soviet system, kept information about this disaster from me until May. This was unacceptable. I did not have information, I could not act on anything, and I was being lied to with the Soviet people. It was simply unacceptable, and in May, when I finally had the full information, I did bring it forward to the public, but I had lost major credibility in both my country and the West. And it just could not easily be regained. You see, in 1988 was the next major year for myself. This was when I introduced my newest policy of glasnost. Glasnost was openness in the Soviet Union. For the first time ever, people had free speech, we had freedom of the press, things could be really talked about, and issues could be presented through more than just the one major party. There was openness, and it was a new way of doing things in the Soviet Union. The Soviet people were not used to it, but we managed to really bring it forward and hope it would work. You can actually see that in East Germany, one probably young Berliner has written glasnost on the wall. He is looking to change policies. It was in 1989 that I moved further away from the Communist Party. I knew I was losing much support at that time from the Communists, and that they could easily overthrow me as their general secretary. Therefore, at the huge Communist Party convention that year, I introduced measures to create the Congress of People's Deputies. That was the first democratically elected organization in the Soviet Union forever. And it had a new Congress, much like yours, where people were elected. And these elections were to the Congress, and then inside the Congress there was an internally elected Supreme Soviet, of which I was elected chairman. Later, that same Supreme Soviet elected me to be the president in 1990. I was the first and last president of the Soviet Union. However, in 1989, or in 1987, Ronald Reagan had given me a message at the Berlin Wall. He had had a speech to all of West Berlin in which he gave a very important message. If you would play that message.
We welcome change and openness, for we believe that freedom and security go together, that the advance of human liberty can only strengthen the cause of world peace. There is one sign the Soviets can make that would be unmistakable, that would advance dramatically the cause of freedom and peace. General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
I greatly admired Mr. Reagan. He had much courage to come to Berlin, inside the Eastern Bloc. Well, not exactly inside, but almost. And come tell me in my home territory to knock down the wall. It wasn't for another 2 years that for 2 more years it was standing, and I did introduce new policies in that time. One major thing I introduced was the law on cooperatives, where the Soviet people were free to run their own businesses. Another major change was my people against me that were in my own cabinet called it my Sinatra declamation, after your famous singer Frank Sinatra, where I would not interfere in the affairs of the Eastern Bloc. It was due to this major policy that in 1989, the people of East Berlin decided that they no longer wanted this wall. And at this time, when the people came to East Berlin, they wanted to get through, and at this time, the wall was torn down. Now, finally, with the barrier between East and West falling by the minute, there was a chance for the Soviet Union. You see, in the Soviet Union, there were not enough desks. That was one thing we knew for sure. Now we have opened up with the West. If you want